Prairie Vintage. My name's Linda. I'm an energy intuitive reader here on YouTube. I use spirits and my intuition, the tarot, to communicate energies to you guys, most amazing viewers. Today's reading will be a pick a card. We'll pick 3 cards from this deck right here, and we'll pick a charm. Okay, if at any point you feel called to go to your pile, you can certainly select from the timestamp. What we're looking at is your energy in regards to where you might be stuck. Okay, so not too long ago I did a why you're stuck video, but this one is going to be a little bit more around the main obstacle. Okay, so there's a main obstacle that might be challenging for you at this time. And how are you being guided to navigate through this challenge, okay, or this obstacle? And so sometimes we see obstacles as external, but a lot of times the external world is because of what's going on inside. So this might be a lot about inner work, okay? And sometimes we don't want to do the inner work. And if we don't want to do the inner work, then we experience the exact same results. We have really no one to blame, okay? So this reading isn't for everybody. I totally understand. Although I do get a lot of comments about, I don't know how to heal. I don't know what to do. And so then these readings sit with 10 views because nobody wants to heal and do the work. So if we feel like we are stuck, or there's a major blockage happening, or we're not ascending, or whatever feels like it's getting in the way, maybe we just feel like we're not gaining traction, then this would be the reading for you. Okay, so this can highlight a lot of areas that you might not even realize are going on within you, because it might be in your shadow or whatever the case may be. It might highlight a specific situation, okay, externally that's going on and how to deal with it. I don't know what we're going to see, but it's going to be specific to you. So just apply it to your own growth, your own healing, whether it be metaphysical, whether it be an internal world of healing, or whether it be a practical situation in what you're dealing with. It's going to come through the way it comes through. I can't control it. Okay, so let's take a look at the decks we're using. For those of you guys interested in 15% off all purchases and all readings, I do have a special going on my website right now. You could save 15% off by entering the code OneLove15. That's OneLove15. This is the tarot pack we'll be using, by the way, this Midnight Magic for all 3 piles. Okay. Yeah, if you enter in that code at the checkout, OneLove15, then you will save 15% off your purchase. And that runs until Valentine's Day. So there's about a 4-day wait between readings, or I guess between your booking and your reading, I should say. All right, but rest assured, I will get to your reading. All right, so there's quite a few packs we're using for this reading today. Okay. This one's an interesting one. I absolutely love this deck, by the way. Lots of energy comes through. Difficult to read, though, because there's so many different energies. And then finally, we have the Spirit Animal Oracle. So those are the decks we're using. I kind of went through the disclaimer already. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much your disclaimer. Let's get into your piles, shall we? So let's go ahead and pick for pile 1, Spirit. Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of the collective. Pile number 1, what is it that they're getting stuck on? Their biggest challenge, their biggest obstacle, and what's going to help them heal through this big challenge, Spirit. Clear and concise message for pile 1. Can we get 3 cards for each pile? Pile 1, pile 2, Spirit, and finally for pile 3. Pile 3. I feel like those fell out not very good. Just do that again, Spirit. Oh, there's your card right there. Jumping out. Okay. So we have 3 options We're going to reveal them shortly. Like I said, if at any point you're pulled to these cards, and then you can select from the timestamp. We'll pick a charm for all three of these, okay? Option 1, we have the white-tailed deer, and the keyword is trust, and it says, I am honoring my knowing. I am honoring my knowing with trust, okay? And option number 2, we have the earthworm with the keyword breathe. It says, do I accept myself without judgment? Do I accept myself without judgment? Interesting. And option number 3, we have the striped skunk with the keyword clear. What kind of release would protect clarity in my space? What kind of release would protect clarity in my space? Interesting. The keyword clear. Okay, 3 different energies for sure. Let's pull your charms. Option number 1. Option 1, you got 2 charms here. You got this crazy frenzy. It almost looks like a whirlwind or a whirlpool or like a twister of sorts. And you have this snake, serpent energy for option number 1. Okay. And then option number 2, you also got 2. You have the skeleton key, and then you have this peacock. A key and a peacock. Okay. You guys hear my son in the background. He's just playing video games. And then for option number 3, oh my goodness, you guys got 3 charms. You guys also got a skeleton key here. And you guys got a crown. So this could be the crown of the emperor or the empress. A crown, a royal crown. And then you guys got this dragonfly. Okay. This key has 2 hearts on the end. There are your charms. Pile number 3. Okay, so let's put that here. So I'll move the charm box out of our way. All right, option 3. Option 3. All right, 3 options for you guys to choose from. I'm going to move this down here. Do you guys sit with this energy? Put the little crown on the skunk. Okay, I'll let you guys sit with this energy. I feel like I'm needing to tinker with this stuff. There we go. Okay, so when you're ready, and then select from the timestamp. This could be your energy around you. Like I said, it could be your internal world, your external world, or circumstances, or just metaphysically what's going on energetically, spiritually, whatever applies to your situation. Use your own intuition, okay? And I will see you guys at your pick. Hello, beautiful pile number 1. You guys picked the white-tailed deer with the keyword trust and the sentence that says, am I honoring my knowing? The charm of the whirlwind. And the first time I opened these charms, I swear to God, I thought this was like a swastika. And I was like, what the heck? Because I was like, what the heck is this thing? But it kind of looks like a pow or like a kapow or some sort of a starburst. It's like spiraling. And then we have this snake. Okay, so we're going to get into this energy right away as sort of an energy check. Okay, what is this reading? This reading is looking at an obstacle, something that's difficult for you to overcome, and it's your main sort of thing that Spirit wants you to look at. And Spirit is going to help guide us through what we need to do in order to overcome whatever this thing is. Okay, this, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, sometimes we are seeing problems out there, external things getting in our way, but really it's a reflection of what's going on the inside. And so a lot of times we change the inside and we notice manifestations on the outside, and things get lifted and blocks get removed. Okay, so dollars to donuts, 9 times out of 10, it's something going on within us. So let's not like peg whatever solution to this thing. Let's keep an open mind. It could be about our own energy. It could certainly be about someone we're dealing with or a situation, how we're dealing with it. An external circumstance might pull through here. Okay, but it's going to come through here as what Spirit wants you to deal with, look at. Okay, and problems don't get solved overnight. Sometimes we have epiphanies and we can remove blocks, and sometimes it takes consistent effort to remove certain patterns or beliefs or destructive ways of engagement. And don't expect to have results instantly. Okay, come back to this reading. You could save it if it helps, if you know that it's something that you're needing to consider here. Okay, but you'll have to really want change. You'll have to really want to devote yourself to overcoming and working with this. Okay, if we're half-hearted, then nothing's going to happen. Okay, we have to really want to make change. We have to really want to break free. If we're suffering, then we make the appropriate changes. Okay, so we got to make sure our energy is sort of in line here. So I have pre-shuffled oracle cards. I've not looked at these cards. Okay, whatever comes out, comes out. And this is the best way to tap into our intuition, where we go through the card layout. You tap into my intuition, and then we see what sort of pulls through here, and then I start to channel. Okay, if you're already in tune with your intuition, you can go straight away to the main reading, although I am going to tap into this energy check first, and we'll see if this is something that resonates for you. Okay, so white-tailed deer. I feel a deer is a very innocent sort of energy, because a deer is sort of hesitant. It's soft, it's innocent. Okay, but it's takes a lot to earn its trust. And so I feel like the deer could, like I said, if this represents you or a situation you're dealing with, I feel like there's a softness or something that's not spoken, because I feel like someone's reserved or not speaking their truth. Okay, and maybe they're waiting for the right time. And so when we're in an energy of externally looking, when will it be the right time, or when will I feel safe? We could be waiting for infinity. And why this is, I mean, sure, certain people make us feel not safe. Certain people make us feel comfortable. And of course. But if we have trauma, our energy meter of how we intake energy is skewed. Some people feel comfortable in rooms full of people speaking, and they're not feeling all sorts of ways, and they're confident and comfortable. They're healed. Okay, and some people are very, very shy and take a while to open up. And this could be a trauma or a belief that they have that is holding them back from expressing themselves. Okay, so there is a situation here that's going on. Okay, and whatever energy I'm tapped into, whether it's yours or not, someone's being reserved and waiting for the right timing. Meanwhile, we need to look back at self. Okay, if you're this person, because the reason we do not trust our circumstance is because we need to look at why we don't trust or feel safe. Okay, and so we can say, well, this is victim blaming or shaming if we say whatever situation isn't making me feel comfortable. If your situation is violently threatening in some way, okay, or it's completely this unstable situation, this isn't your reading. This is talking about an intuitive knowing that I'm not comfortable here, or that I'm sort of hesitant here, and I'm not speaking my truth because I'm waiting for the right time so that I can trust, so that I can speak my mind. It's like, this will never come. Okay, and it's not that it's never going to come because your people or your situation is never comfortable. It'll never come because Spirit wants you to look at self and overcome something within yourself. Okay, so there's a belief in an old self here that needs to be shed, like the snake that sheds its skin. So it needs to be reborn into its new energy. Okay, and this thing gives me like anxiety. It's like a whirlwind. We don't know if we're up or down, or we get sort of taken away in this whirlwind of energy. And so we might feel like we're completely out of our element or swept away, or have no control. And so this is a control thing. We want to control our situation and our circumstance. We don't want it to sort of be out of our control. like when a tornado happens, we have zero control. But I also feel like this is giving me a spontaneous thing. And so I feel like Spirit's really saying, like, the spontaneous thing is where we have control to intervene or spontaneously change the course of something here, and to acknowledge where we're still wearing the old skin or the old story or the old belief or the thing that doesn't let us shed some way of being, so that we can express ourselves, so we can feel comfortable and trust the situation. Because I feel like for this group, your situation is trustworthy. And so I just don't feel like speaking about it, or I just feel like I don't know, I don't trust myself to deliver a truth here. And I don't know, how deep this goes or where it stemmed from, but I do know that what it's asking you to is like spontaneously shed or spontaneously see something within you that needs to be healed. Okay, but it's a past experience for sure that's created this energy within you. So, or you, I say, whoever is with you or about you or around you. So let's take a look at these cards. We have Jupiter, Neptune, card number 48. So that's card number 12, and 12 is the Hangman, Pisces energy, but that's all about a change of perspective. And when I say like intervening with a sudden way of how we engage, okay, but we have to be consciously interjecting with how we perceive situation. So Jupiter is the ruling planet for Sagittarius and Pisces, okay, and Sagittarius takes aim. It's a very confident sort of energy. And so I feel this has something to do with a lack of confidence. Okay, and Neptune is Pisces energy. And so that's a very dreamy sort of energy, like a fantasy. So you might have like an idealistic or like some fantasy version of something that we're thinking about, but it doesn't become a reality. This is like big dreams, big hopes. Like we'd rather stay in fantasy land, but we don't make it a reality because we don't know how, or we don't believe in ourselves. But it's just this tweaking of the Hangman here that might help shifting how we see a situation. Speak your truth. What did we say? So we're holding back some truth. Okay. And we have the 6th house. So the 6th house is about health, fitness, okay, about systems. It's also work habits and a sense of usefulness. So how we give of service to others. It says, service to others. What is good for us in your work? So what is our purpose here? How are we delivering ourselves to others, making ourselves of service? Okay, and so this is the planet of Pluto. So Pluto's the shadow planet. It represents Scorpio. A need for control. What did I say? We might feel out of control if we give in, like it's going to sweep us away in some way. An obsession with and a power struggle. I feel like the power struggle could certainly be within, trying to gain control here or of a situation. Look at that. So this could be the inner struggle, but we feel like here's the big and the little, or the more aggressive, and then the one that's sort of smaller. And so what is this? The big self and the little self, the bully self trying to control, or what's going on here? We see the blue, which is all about self-expression. And then the red, which is root chakra, which is maybe a need to feel safe. Like I said, we don't trust here because we have block in the root chakra so that the authenticity doesn't get expressed. And we're trying to force our way, or it feels very restricted here to communicate something or be backing up our truth. And I can't help but see this is feminine. And I don't know, this could be masculine. We don't see the face. And so we always talk about the two energies that we carry, the masculine and the feminine, despite our gender. And so are we in balance with our feminine and our masculine energy? Are we more comfortable in our feminine? Or are we letting the feminine sort of take the wheel where we're very passive and we don't speak our truth? We're too afraid to, take control in some way here. Or maybe we think we're controlling our way by allowing things sort of to be rather than speaking some sort of truth. But I feel like there's a need to look at the masculine and feminine healing and which way we're going or what we're doing with it. And we have wound. So we did feel the snake was talking about a past experience that needs to be shed, or the old self that needs to be healed, because the wounding, the experience I had left me wounded. And this is also giving me like maybe an open wound here, you know? So this is kind of like a three swords, an experience of the past that needs healing. May still be open here, but even if we feel we've closed this wound, what Spirit is showing is this is what's in the subconscious taking the wheel, making the decisions for us. And it could be on autopilot here. So we need to be aware of where our wounding is. Okay, dissolution. So yeah, it's like we need to accept some form of truth. Not what we want the truth to be, not some idealistic version. I feel there's an idealism here of who we think we need to be or a situation. Maybe something's on a pedestal or there's an unrealistic thing that we're attached to that drives our belief system that is unrealistic, potentially. It's like I can never strive to be that version of myself or that idealistic or whatever the thing is. And so this is shattering that illusion and then being sort of maybe disappointed in the fact that we have to embrace some form of reality or truth. And maybe we don't want to, you know, because it's sometimes makes us keep safe and it keeps our victim story. It's like if I keep that story alive, it perpetuates this state of being. And so I'm doing this for a deeper reason rather than accepting a truth and then coming to some form of disappointment or having to face the thing I never wanted to face in the first place. So you have the dark and the light, which I'm getting the masculine and the feminine healing again, the shadow and the light, shadow work. Okay, companion, the two people again. Okay, so light attributes, loyalty, tenacity, and unselfishness. So what's unselfishness? That's this, being of service. Shadow attributes, betrayal by misusing confidences, loss of personal identity. So that's really standing out. Who am I? Am I speaking my truth? Or am I piggybacking on situations here at my own expense? Drowning myself out. In between worlds, number 55. So 55 is a master number. And that represents that change is the only constant. Okay, it's divinely orchestrated change, which means the divine is coming in to elicit change and make the changes happen. Whether we're on board or not, things are happening here by the divine will. And so in between worlds could mean we're exiting one old world and we're entering into a new world where we feel thrown about or we just feel uncomfortable. Okay, and fives are definitely all about change and rebuild and conflict. Here we have compassion with the heart. So we have companion and compassion. Okay, you're being asked to be kinder to yourself, to give yourself a break instead of being a taskmaster, a bully, a horrible friend. Be a loving comforter who always has your back. So what's our self-speak? There's some negative self-speak coming through here. Okay, we need to be aware of. Ears wide open. Look at this beautiful little fox. 33 is also a master number. And that is about reproduction, creativity, and humor. It's also about Christ consciousness, joy, and harmony. So you need to find harmonious things. Stars are Aquarius energy. And 3 is all about growth and relationships, which we were feeling. Okay, it's definitely the relationship with self. But if we don't have a healthy relationship with self, it's getting in the way of relationship with everything else. And so we might be experiencing challenge out there in a relationship. Okay, again, we're in a relationship with everything, but it's really stemming from the most important relationship, which is the one with self. And so here we have eyes wide open. Eyes, did I just say eyes? Oh my goodness, ears wide open. And so the ears are tied to the throat chakra because the throat chakra isn't only about speaking our truth, but it is about understanding and receiving information here so that we can take it in a sort of more real way, okay? Because what happens when we're wounded or traumatized or carry certain judgments or beliefs within ourselves, then incoming information gets skewed. And we're not seeing situations properly. We could feel threatened. You know, like let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. I don't know if it's a good example, but let's say public speaking is coming through again. let's say I already identify as someone who's shy and who's not a good public speaker, and I just sort of feel that that's my energy. It's like, oh, I've never been a good speaker. I just know I'd be shy up there and blah, blah, blah. And so I just carry that idea of myself. And now all of a sudden there's like, a room full of people here. And now it's like everything that happens in that room, knowing that I have to speak or whatever, is going to be skewed to a way I could be looking around and saying, ooh, those people in that corner look sort of judgmental because they're a little rowdy and maybe they're laughing at the other speaker. And it's like, now I'm focused on this. Meanwhile, there's other things going on here that I'm completely missing because my ears aren't actually wide open. The only ears that are open are the ears that are looking at from the trauma perspective, or the part that's only seeing what it's thinking it's seeing out there. So I feel like there's a skew of intake and there's a skew of output here. Okay, and it's all stemming from this internal dialogue. Common puffball, let go. 13 is the snake energy. That's about transformation and shedding old skin. Okay, release. So we have to release the trauma. We have to release the thing in order to understand the new version, or to allow the transformation to happen, because we're in between worlds. So we might be in the process of letting go, but maybe we have to consciously do something more because it's still lingering around. We might have to get honest about something here. Gnosis. Look at this, knowing. Okay, and we have 75. So that's number 12, which pulls through again. I think this was 12, right? Yeah, so hangman again, Pisces energy. So we have gnosis. Okay, and yeah, I feel like we could think we know something through our brain or thoughts or mind, or we can actually experience something and know something because we've inner experienced it, which are two different things. Okay, or we can experience something and then come to an understanding and then attach to that understanding as it's being the truth. Meanwhile, it was an experience, and so we might know something to be true right now that isn't necessarily true, but we've experienced it as a knowing. So it's our reality, although it is skewed. I feel like there's some fantastical understanding we might have here. Helm, navigation, control, and journey. Control coming through yet again here. And so the helm is, I'm the captain of my ship. I can navigate where this goes. And so control is an illusion, of course, but I feel like Spirit is saying you actually have more control than that's happening in your world. You can have more control than you actually are, hanging on to this way that you're being. So I feel like we're getting the opposite result than that which we're trying to achieve. I think you want to achieve control. I think you feel out of your element when there's this need to deal with this. And so the more we cling and the more we try to maintain control from this distorted thing, the more we feel tossed about. And Spirit's saying when we let go, we actually then can control our ship a little bit better, because then we have two hands to sort of steer this helm. Okay, because the boat's going to be moving in a direction. The journey moves and we need to just steer. That's your job, is to steer. Okay, but if we're hanging on, if we're doing other things, then the boat starts moving and we're totally lopsided because we're still fiddling with the anchor. I don't know. We're doing something here instead of focused on the journey and the pointed direction. We had Sagittarius coming through here, which is pointed direction. Ambition, seeing ahead and taking aim. 67, wolf spirit, turn knowledge into wisdom. So what's this knowledge? Okay, and the snake is talk about wisdom. Wisdom can only come through an experience. Okay, unless we read it in a book, then that's just knowledge, but knowledge is nothing unless we have like an actual experience of it. Okay, so this is talking about turning this knowledge into an experience of wisdom. So card 67 is card number 13, and 13 is pulling through again here. So that's the death card, Scorpio energy, transformation. Wolf is independence. A wolf can certainly feel threatened. And here we have breath, number 36, or the number 9. So breath gives life. Breath brings something to life. Breath could even be just us regulating the pace here. If we focus on the breath, generally when we're having like a panic attack or feel out of control, this allows us to be more focused, more calm. And so I feel like the answer to your solution here is actually quite simplistic, like basic, although it might be difficult to do because we're programmed in a certain way. I feel like the answer is actually quite easy. But whether we're capable of doing it because our misconception is we're not, then it becomes the challenge. Purification, look at that. A beautiful sunflower. And in this depiction, it looks like it's raining. Rain could be symbolic of the emotions, but the sunflowers, they turn and face the sun, turn and face the clarity. So purification process could be this shedding of the old skin. So let me sit here with this energy, beautiful people. You can certainly click on the timestamp to channel to the direct channel, and I will get into this. Okay, beautiful people. You have a circumstance right now, for sure, that you're faced with, okay? And for some of you guys, it's a relationship. Whatever the relationship is, partnership, a relationship of sorts. It could be an intimate relationship. It could be just dealing in a situation where another is involved, or a circumstance in which you're having to engage, okay? And how you are involved in that thing and how you're experiencing that relationship or that thing, whether you feel comfortable or not comfortable or good or bad, is all reflecting back to you and dictating to you a part of yourself that I think is still needing to get looked at. That's a wound of a past experience that's still impacting how you're dealing with people. It's dictating how you're intaking that situation, and it's skewed. It's not based in reality, okay? And so we might be more threatened than the situation actually is really appearing. We might think that the other is, more assertive or aggressive than need be, and so we feel uncomfortable. Or we might, whatever judgment we're putting out there is because we're carrying something within us that needs to really be looked at and be handled with compassion. There's an idea that you have of yourself, and I think it's very unrealistic, of some idealistic fantasy of who you need to be in this situation that isn't true, because I think your situation just requires you to be authentic and for you to trust yourself in coming out, and it would be fully supportive of you. There's something for you to deliver here, okay, with the service to others. You have something beautiful to give, like that's actually fulfilling in this situation. It's not empty, it's not half-assed, it's not watered down. It's full, fulfilling, and sustainable here in this situation. And so this situation could be falling apart, could be challenge, could be a struggle, could be you having a power struggle with someone. Okay, and it's why? And because we can deal with this wound and be able to accept the fact that we can come and give fruit to this situation. Okay, but we haven't been fully fruitful in this situation just yet, because we're still upside down in our understanding of how it is we have to show up. And so Spirit's telling you have to be like a sleuth here in destructing this mind story you're telling yourself. I don't know if your parent told you, your teacher told you, you've experienced or read in a book how a boss needs to be, how a boyfriend needs to be, how a wife needs to be, how a janitor, whatever role that you're in, you understood something and you ran with it. Okay, and it could be because I experienced it, it becomes real. Because I experienced a loss around that sort of story, or I just have this conception. Conception, is that a word? Yeah, conception, an understanding. Okay, and it's not true, and it's creating havoc here. And so I feel like this wound is giving me two things. Like the wound is I could have experienced some thing that really did happen to me. Okay, but it has nothing to do with this new situation. That's still dictating and driving how I speak my truth and why I'm held back and why I don't trust. But I feel like we're also terrified of there being a wounding here, and we're so focused maybe on preventing something. And so the preventing of something doesn't allow us to engage and involve ourselves fully and give of service here. Because if we're fully being of service to someone, like completely from the heart, how does this look? This looks like I am totally absorbed in giving and receiving in this moment, that I'm not focused on the thing that I got to do or say that overrides or overdrowns your voice or what you're doing. I can listen to you fully, and I can engage in the situation fully, because that is truly being of service and dealing with a situation that's authentically, in our truest energy. But if you're engaged with me and as you speak, I'm more focused on what could happen to me, that this is driving my agenda, I'm not really of service to you. I'm off in my fantasy land, worrying about worst case scenarios that you're gonna do or say, like I used in the example when I was laying the cards, like I'm using the public speaking, for example. So like it's torturous when we have to do a public speech and we know that we are not good with doing this. It's like our biggest fear, right? Some people have that as a big, big fear. Others do not. And so it really impacts like what happens before that, in which we got to get on the stage. We're half present. People talk to us. We don't even know people are talking to us. Our brain is sort of replaying what's going to happen when I get on that stage. We're scanning the room to look at possible threats or how people are engaged with other speakers and how the deflection is going to go. And like we might run worst case scenarios, and then we get even more in our thing. And so the meat of what we were supposed to deliver, like let's say this is about climate change or I don't know, something, okay? I don't know why I said climate change, but something we're supposed to deliver that we're passionate about. It's like that becomes watered down because now I'm giving that energy that would have been going to, selling my speech, having buy-in from the audience, is now going towards this version of myself that's doubting myself. Okay. And so it's really a struggle to tweak ourselves in a way to get back to the meat of what's real here. And as long as the wound is there and it's doing that unconscious driving, then we can't deal with the main fruit of what we need to deal with without actually shattering that illusion, that belief, that fantasy story, that knowing that we have. Okay, we have to let go of that. And so I feel like, one, we don't have confidence in our ability for whatever story was told to you. And so I feel like it's dictating your every move and controlling how you engage in your situation. And so we might not want to go through the awkward period. Like maybe I've been so much like this for so long. And it could be like, let's say, this is just another scenario, okay? Like everyone knows me as that energy. And now it's going to be me and my new energy. And so in between worlds, like that's almost more awkward. Like if I was just to wake up and be in this healed energy, then maybe it'd be better, but it's like, what's this transition going to look like? I mean, I want to fail. People might look at me differently in some way here. And so, but Spirit is saying, like, in order for us to find balance, we have to support ourselves. We have to support ourselves. We have to be our biggest companion and show compassion. And we have to know that as long as we're speaking our truth and we're trusting ourselves to be authentic, okay, it's not the fear driving, it's not the phobia or the what might happen. Okay, then we know that we're in a prime situation to be intaking that situation from a clear, undistorted point of view. But the minute we start to hold back, the minute we are cautious and we're sort of hesitant here on our truth, we're sort of lost in a world here that is not allowing the truth of a situation to be revealed to us. And so we're really the only ones missing out. Okay, and so this purification might be even talking about a need to release. So the feminine healing we talked about, Okay, feminine healing is a release of emotions. And so what that looks like with this wound is whatever happened to me in an experience that I had, I have to acknowledge it and flesh it out of my system. Cry about it or talk about it. If it's therapy about it, whatever the thing is, it could just be meditating about it so I don't suppress it. I allow myself to fully purify that from my body. Okay, but then if we don't deal with the root cause problem, our house could get sort of flooded again by these strong emotions. So we have to deal with the masculine healing, which is the sun. And the sun, masculine healing, is identifying our patterns with our knowing, because we're observing ourselves. And we say, gee, like, look at how I respond. Look at how I react in these situations. Now, we shouldn't identify with our own sort of emotions, even our body and our reactions. Those things are happening independent of us. We're just called to observe. And so when we observe this, when we observe our trauma speaking, when we observe the anxiety, when we observe how we respond, we are just observing it and we're identifying and getting to know ourselves even more. And this is the masculine healing, because we create space between us, like our essence, okay, and the traumatized version of us, because this traumatized version of you isn't you. Okay, this you that's experienced something here that's created a complex or a lack of self-confidence, this isn't you. It's the small self that's been challenged here, but it's in your shadow. It's like I said, the lack of confidence here. Okay, that's not you. It's you had an experience and therefore it's in the shadow and therefore it needs to be released. And then when we release it, we have to identify, how has this programmed me to engage in my world in a certain way? And now that's program and conditioning. And we have to get in front of the program and conditioning. Like I said, that spontaneous interject ourselves. We have to be wanting to seize that moment. And so at first, the space between us and our reactions are very close. And so the trauma keeps reacting. The program is on repeat. Just like, again, like the public speaker, it's like I'm instantly sort of kicked back to anxiety, and it's just like an automatic response. So we have to make space between us and that anxiety. And so when we observe, we say, there goes my anxiety, but it's not me. I know now this is a program or a condition, or this is a past version of me that experienced something. And so we witness it, we create the space between us. And every time it happens in this way, I'm recognizing, okay, that masculine healing. And now the space between me and this trigger, this program, becomes so big that I can get in front of it. And when I get in front of it, I can let go and release the anxiety, or I could make a different choice. Because here I feel like deer in headlights. And so I don't speak my truth, or I choose the anxious path, or I resist doing the thing that I actually feel like doing. And it just keeps happening on some sort of loop. And it's like, it doesn't need to happen on a loop. You can get in front of this anxiety. You can observe yourself when you're sitting in this state and say, there I go. It's having the same thought again. So I'm going to give compassion to myself, saying, yes, self, you have a lack of confidence right here, or your self-speak is sort of making judgment. Don't judge self. And say, I recognize I have this negative self-speak, or I'm instilling myself here with a disbelief that's not true, no matter how much I feel it and believe it, because your feelings are really intense. Okay, and we can't just turn our feelings on and off. And so let your feelings be what they are. Don't resist them. Like I said, let them flow. Okay, let your experience be what it is. Don't be in denial. Don't suppress them. But by embracing them with compassion, I'm allowed to feel a lack of self-confidence. I'm allowed to feel how I feel right now. It's not real. It stemmed from trauma, and it's creating subconscious patterns that don't get me good results. And so I'm trying to create space between me and my relationships, me and the situation I'm dealing with, me and the way I generally cope with when something triggers this inner wound within me, because something keeps triggering this inner wound within me, and I keep defaulting to the same version of me, the version of me that doesn't speak up, the version of me that doesn't trust, the version of me that's too quiet, the version of me that doesn't know how to engage with my emotions, and the version of me who sees people out there as maybe threatening, or like I don't know, has a skewed perception that's out there and they're trying to hurt me, or they're all judging me, or I can't be confident. Like that's a projection. Like sure, there's people that are judging. Sure, but a healthy version doesn't say I hold my truth because people judge. The only reason I would hold my truth is because I judge me. And when we let go of our own judgment, then it doesn't matter what out there's doing. People could be judging, people could be laughing, people could be pointing. It doesn't matter. I release judgment. I was compassionate enough with myself. I am able to speak my truth. And when we speak our truth, this is the most empowering thing we could do. And it's so liberating here. Okay. But I feel like we're a little passive and we're allowing the wound to sort of take the wheel. And the Spirit's saying no more. Okay. But this breath is like, I think it's like bit by bit, allow this version of yourself to come out here. Okay. Like the version of you that might be too scared to go full-fledged and speak some truth. Like if it comes, bit by bit, then allow it to come as it does, organically, bit by bit, but support yourself. So let's see, Spirit, what more does pile number 1 need to know about this obstacle or this main challenge that's getting in their way of their ascension, of their healing, of their growth? What's this obstacle, main challenge they're needing to focus on, and how can they heal this? So we have 10 wands. So 10 wands is the 10 wands of burden, right? And carry this heaviness. We feel like we're alone, in it alone. 2 swords. So this is really this sort of energy. It's like the deer in headlights. Like we don't commit one way or another, and we sit there like, oh, we bury our head in the sand. We want to peace keep. We don't know one way or another. We can't take control. And we feel overwhelmed by sitting there and not being empowered to take control. We don't trust ourselves to make decisions and just be confident in our own ability to decide. Page of Cups in reverse. So this could be a block in the heart space. Okay, and certainly a block in expressing our emotions and how we feel. Because why? Because I feel overpowered to speak my emotions, or I feel like overwhelmed when I gotta do this thing. That's all the wound talking. And so I sit here, burying my head in the sand, or not deciding, or contemplating, humming and hawing. Why is this 10 wands of burden here, Spirit? High Priestess in reverse. So we're not seeing clearly. And we don't see like I said, with the ears wide open, and fell right on it. What did I say when we were laying this out? It's like, if all I'm concerned about is the trauma and the trigger, I got to go up and I got to do the public speaking. And I already know that I'm attached to the story that I say that I'm a horrible public speaker. I'm going to get embarrassed, or I just choke up, or I'm not confident. I don't talk smooth, whatever that story is. And we walk on into that room. What are we doing? We're not seeing the reality of a situation. We start magnifying certain things, blowing certain things out of proportion, thinking the worst, seeing the threats. And it's not a good place to be. And it's not real, because what we're seeing here is what needs to be, we really need to see through the illusions we're casting out here. There's some fantasy world that we're creating out there that doesn't exist, in order to potentially even be like a safety net, so we feel more comfortable. Like if I make this a situation where I gotta speak publicly in a way here that allows me to feel safe, then I create all sorts of stories. 2 of Cups in reverse. So like I said, for some of you guys, it's a partnership and a relationship. So I can't find harmony, and I certainly can't step up here and give equally. Why? Because I'm blocked in my emotions. I can't express my truth. I don't feel safe. So I sit here and my 2 swords. Okay, so 2s are all about partnership. This is all about balance and duality. And what I say about the balance, we were saying the dark and the light. And it's about the masculine and the feminine, the dark, the light. And so we got to integrate shadow. We have to understand where we are incapable of being in a balanced state here. And we keep maybe choosing the default, because that's the groove. That's the brain pattern that we've developed here. And so we might say, well, I know I have this brain pattern. It's like, okay, you're the one who needs to grab the wheel. The Spirit's not going to just change this all of a sudden. It won't. It's never going to change. It's never going to shift. You have to want it bad enough to change the course of this. Get in front of it. Create the space. Create the space. Okay? By the masculine healing, by seeing and observing death, transformation that's not happening is blocked here. Okay, Scorpio energy. And the only reason it's blocked is because there's a need to let go. Okay, transformation we got even with the snake. Okay, let go. And we let go of the old versions, the old stories, the old hurts, the old wounds, and the old way of how we normally engage. Because the old is seeping into the new, and it's dictating how we engage in the new. And it's not allowing for this in-between worlds transformation to happen smoothly. 8 of Wands. So this is about communication and forward movement and having a breakthrough. That's this spontaneous sort of energy that I was getting from this pal. You know, it's like spontaneously sort of making a breakthrough, and look at the world. So Spirit's message is so clear, and it's just sort of repeating here. You're the captain of your ship. There is something you have to do. You have to do this and create this space. Now, you don't have to do anything. You could keep repeating in the wounds and the stories and making the fantasies and this idealistic version of who you want to be someday in the future that never comes. You'll keep chasing this perpetual version of self. Okay, the version of self that feels safe when it's not opening up. And you're not opening up because of this wound. Okay, and so this doesn't mean just all of a sudden open up. This means create space between your unhealthy pattern that keeps choosing to stay two swords, that keeps choosing to do the same thing, the safe route, being quiet, not communicating in that thing, because we keep doing that. And so the more we keep doing it, the more we keep doing it. And then the heavier we feel here, because we're carrying this burden, you know, because we know staying here two swords, you can't stay here long, because eventually the straw that breaks the camel's back and relationships fall apart or things just go sideways because we have to deal with this. And so things are very, very imbalanced here. I can't show up. I can't open up. I can't communicate. I can't be authentic. I can't do all these things. And yes, you can. And in order to do this, we have to acknowledge what is there. And what is there is a false story of who I'm telling myself I need to be that's dictated because of an experience I had of the past or a version of me that I'm projecting into the future that I'm scared might happen. That isn't based in reality because I'm not seeing, so I feel out of control. So we have to trust in the divine. Okay, we have to close this cycle out and we have to have this breakthrough. So this is all about communication. I feel like there's a need to speak some truth here, however this looks. Okay, so we have to interject and speak this no matter how I don't know, like resistant we are about this speaking this truth. This is the only way to close this up. This is the only way things will move. Okay, and so to get here to this 8 Wands, we have to work our way and build our way to this thing. Okay, but we can't stay in denial and we can't keep old patterns alive because we'll never see how to get there. We'll constantly be lost in the forest of the wounding and keep experiencing the same results here. Can't trust, imbalanced relationships, me being two swords because I don't trust. And I carry this way of being within me. It's not a good feeling. Page of Swords in reverse. Yeah. So we have to come to an understanding first and look at these pages. So we might feel like very new at this. And Spirit saying, yeah, allow yourself to, again, with this compassion, to be forgiving. Like pages take time to learn this thing. So if you have this unrealistic expectation of how you have to be, you're the only one carrying this idealistic version. No one, your situation is not carrying that at all. Remember, I told you, you have a misskewed perception of your situation. And so I feel like this is not helping you. It's only creating more fear and anxiety. And you're creating this burden that's undue burden. It's not even there. And so we need to start seeing things clearly. And right now we don't see or understand it fully because the only thing we understand is the wound. The only thing we understand is the program. The only thing we understand is the same way I've always been, which is peacekeeping or not, doing the thing I always do. No, don't do the thing you always do. It's time to stop it. Okay. Or at least energetically get in front of it. Like keep getting in front of it. Keep getting in front of it energetically. Even if you don't say anything at first, you're observing it. You're getting in front of it. You're watching yourself. And trust me, soon enough, you want nothing to do with this version of you. It's like, why would I suppress myself? And before you know it, there's enough space for you to speak your truth and feel completely comfortable. Because I think your situation here is something that is comfortable. It's a relationship that could be balanced, harmonious. You can find harmony here in whatever you're dealing with here. And you're the stick in the mud here, okay? Pile number 1, like I said, it could be you, it could be someone you're dealing with. But this is your reading. I hope this helped you, and I'll see you at the next one. All right, bye-bye. Hello, gorgeous angels. Pile number 2. You guys picked the Breathe card with the earthworm. And it says, do I accept myself without judgment? And here we have the skeleton key and the peacock. So what are we looking at? This reading is looking at an obstacle, some sort of challenge, some place in which we are having a difficulty maybe overcoming for whatever reason. Spirit wants us to focus on this challenge. Okay, and go back and listen to the beginning, because I do explain there that usually when we see challenges out there in front of us, it's mirroring back to us something that we're having to deal with internally. Okay, so let's see what this is about for you guys. We have pre-shuffled oracle cards. I've not looked at them. This is exactly that, what I asked Spirit. You know, what is it that pile number 2 is getting hung up on, or what's the biggest obstacle or challenge that they're needing to overcome, and how can they overcome this? Okay, so it might become clear once we have all the cards laid out. But if you're tapping into your intuition and still working through your intuition, and the best ways to sit through the card layout. Okay, but if you want to skip straight away to your message, you can click on the timestamp. But let's get into this energy check here with this initial card. So the earthworm can talk about needing to learn something. It's like it's kind of like a page energy, you know, where we're potentially inexperienced or having to come to some sort of understanding in whatever experience you're having, because the earthworm is sort of like a very early stage of evolution here. You know, the earthworm is just an earthworm, but the earthworm has an ability to regenerate. Okay, if it gets cut here, it regenerates in a way. It doesn't, or at least it doesn't die. It's able to keep living here. So there could be some form of a constraint or some sort of handicap, okay, that we're learning to live with, or some sort of limitation of sorts that might be impacting us. Okay, now, do I accept myself without judgment? People have a misconception of what judgment means. They think judgment means passing some harsh thing on another. Okay, and it doesn't have to be harsh. Judgment just means I have a preconceived idea, an understanding. I come with a notion of something. That's a judgment. We're already passing an understanding that isn't based on anything except for a past experience, a past thing we read, an understanding we housed because someone told us something, and therefore it's not necessarily based in reality. And so judgments happen, and they're the biggest challenge one can have in really liberating oneself. Because of these preconceived notions, we engage in the world under one false understanding. And we might feel confident about our understanding because it makes us feel protected. It makes us feel validated. It makes us feel confident. It makes us feel accomplished. But that's the ego upholding these judgments to create this world that we're engaged with. And the minute our idea or our belief is threatened, and a glimpse of reality sneaks in there that opposes our belief, our structure, we feel threatened. And so we need to examine ourselves in a way that doesn't attach to any story or identity of who we are and what we're about. Because any story or idea of who we say we are, we're not. We're not any of those things. And so that's scary to the ego to hear. We're none of those things. We want to have purpose, and so we attach to identity. But we can have purpose in being our authentic self and living in the present moment. But there's a lot of fear with this because we want to know about the future. You know, we want to know that there's certainty. And so the ego lives in certainty here. But this peacock is really giving me ego. Okay, because the peacock is sort of flashy here, and it flashes its tail and it creates some fancy firework of expression. Okay, but the peacock can be talking about the self-expression here, and the peacock with the beautiful, colorful tail is the male. So there could be some masculine energy that you're working with. Okay, when I say with, it's within you. And so this masculine energy is someone who thinks they're in control or does certain things in order to get certain outcomes. Okay, and then the key here could talk about knowledge or solution. And when we talk about a solution, it's like whatever is going to solve a problem or whatever is going to open up a new world of possibilities, I have to understand. And I could be, like closed off, or I could have one understanding and then be handed a new understanding, and it open up a whole new door of opportunity or possibility here. So there's a solution to your whatever you're faced with here, okay? I don't know if you even know you have a problem here. I mean, you're here and you clicked on it. When I say problem, we have problems when the outside world isn't making us feel good. So I feel like there's something in the outside world reflecting back to us that doesn't feel good. And we feel maybe there's no way out, or there's no way around it, potentially. Okay, so let's take a look. So we have Jupiter with 44. So 44 is a master number. That represents integrity as a foundation, treating the earth as home and a temple, manifestation and leadership. Jupiter is the ruling planet for Sagittarius and Pisces. And so this could be, achieving our dreams. Jupiter is all about big energy. It could be appearances. It could be fate. It could be Wheel of Fortune energy here as well. Destiny and fate. Let's put that over here for now. Okay. We have live from your heart. Look at that. So are we living from some superficial way, or are we actually living from the heart? And how we'll know is how much at peace we are. If we're at peace, we're living from the heart. If we're tormented and suffering, then we're most likely filling someone else's version or idea of who we need to be. Venus. So again, this external sort of energy, because Venus is the planet of beauty. But I mean, beauty is obviously in the eye of the beholder. It's also the planet of love. Live from your heart. The attraction of, the pleasure from, and good times. So good times could be very superficial. What do we have here? It looks like a library, because we see these shelves in the background and all these desks. A school setting, a library setting. So this could be representing the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge, a student learning. Remember, we talked about the earthworm being an early stage of understanding something here. Okay. Home. Look, we're outgrowing our environment potentially here. Not comfortable. Servant. Light attributes. Delight in serving others with a free and loving heart. So we're doing acts of service from a place of genuine desire to fulfill others selflessly, or the shadow attribute, which is using a lack of money as an excuse not to move forward with life. So money can represent the scarcity mindset. I don't have this thing, or I'm lacking that in which I need in order for me to live in truth or do the thing. Okay, it doesn't have to necessarily be finances, but rainbow transference. So we see two hands here with the rainbow, and the rainbow could talk about different sort of perspectives. Talk about hope. 21, or the number 3. 3 is all about growth, relationships, the initial success. Okay, so what is this? This is like a projection or an interaction here with others of how we engage. And so remember what I said, if we're judging, it has to come through us first, because when we are in judgment, we have to carry it, and the lightning bolt comes through us and then out of us. So we carry the judgment. We live with the judgment within us before we go and extend it. So that means that any opinion we have, any idea, some form of information that we hang on to and pass a judgment about our situation, circumstance, or other people is what's going on within us. And so we have to be very aware of how we're seeing the outside world. Pause. You're being asked to pause before making a quick decision and moving forward. Allow yourself to step back. Look at all the possible outcomes and make sure you're headed in the right direction before moving forward. All right. And I feel like you are on the verge of making a decision. I feel like you are paused potentially, feeling the world. Number 13 is the transformative number because it's all about transformation release. It's the death and rebirth here. So feeling the world. And what does this mean? Feeling collective energy potentially. And then we have number 7 with the cordyceps essence. So the essence is this living from the heart space because our essence goes beyond conditioning. Our essence is our being. Okay. So here we have the nectar. So what gives us pleasure in life? We can't pretend to be fulfilled and at peace. There's certain nectar of life that can't be manufactured here. It's authentic. So we have the number 58. 58. And that's 13 as well. So now we have 13, which is Scorpio energy transformation, and 7's charioteer, which is Cancer. So we have the chalice, Ace of Cups energy here. Look at this overflowing. It says revelry, intoxication, and generosity. Okay. We have the cat spirit, claim your independence. Look, another 13. So 13 is the card of transformation, death, release. So we could be reborn here. A very transformative energy, Scorpio energy. Claim your independence. So what is our independence? We got to go back to our essence. We can't be who someone else expects us to be here. This cat's very unique. Quicksilver, number 24, or the number 6. 6 is lovers, Gemini energy. Quicksilver is an ability to shapeshift here. It's giving me Mercury energy, which is Gemini and Virgo. Chiron, this is the wounded healer. And so we heal what's within us so that we're able to move towards and be productive. And sometimes it's even like we become leaders in the field of healing others through a way of experience. I remember I said we have to sort of go through a solution here in order to open the door to something new with Chiron. Okay, and then we have embracing. Beautiful. With the white bird here. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to channel what this is here, and you guys can skip ahead for sure. Okay, I think some of you guys are on the verge of a major decision here, and there might be some hesitation because I think there's a big calling here, and you guys might be on different places on the spectrum here. Okay, but it's like a devoting yourself to some greater cause here, and it would require you to maybe do some form of sacrifice. And we see it as a sacrifice only when we have a lack mindset, like the universe isn't all abundant. And so this would sound something like, in order for me to go towards my creative pursuit, I'd have to give up my 9 to 5 job or something like this. Okay, so there's a world that doesn't make you happy, that you've outgrown. And I think you know this, but I think we're convincing ourselves or trying to make it work here. Okay, and this judgment is the story we tell ourselves of who we are and why we need to fit that role is actually a misconception. It's not fulfilling. So there's a fulfilling role out here. And I do feel it involves potentially, working with the collective, healing the collective in some way. That Spirit is wanting you to fully embrace and fully sort of lean into it without hesitation or without any sort of focus on the past version of who you think you still are or that you're still attached to in some way. So we still have beliefs that have been ingrained in us through either an experience or an understanding that has nothing to do with where we're at right now. So there's something fulfilling here that speaks to our soul. And so Spirit is saying the only way for us to make decisions that are going to be aligned with our purpose, that are going to be fulfilling, has to be one that comes from the heart, not one that comes from some story that we tell ourselves that we still have to maintain, some version of us that we feel we have to do because society says it makes better sense, or because socially, or just even in my tradition or my upbringing or my world, has one expectation and version of me. And maybe in that field I'm recognized, or this is how I've always expressed myself in that world. But now we've outgrown this world and it doesn't feel good. And so Spirit is confirming here, you're going to have success in this other world where you get to shine, but we're shining from the truest essence of who we are. Okay. And so there's this ability to be of service, and it comes very naturally. It's not exhausting because it is your truest calling here. And so when you're in touch with your truest essence of who you are, when you do an everyday job of service, it isn't exhausting and it doesn't feel like it's sacrificing anything. And so this state is like, when you hear people who transition into their field of work that they love, they say, every day I come to work and I play. It doesn't feel like work and it doesn't feel like anything. And I can't believe I'm getting paid to do what it is that I do. Same idea. This is like you really aligning with some purpose here, because it's really aligned with your calling here. And so in this world, in this lifetime, you might still be this earthworm, which is something is stopping you in some way, saying, well, I'm still at an infant stage of understanding that field or that understanding, or you have some disadvantage that you think, or some disability or some belief system. And I think what Spirit is showing is the only limitation that is happening right now is your belief that there's a limitation, or that the weight you're putting on saying that I'm still inexperienced or I don't have the information. And so Spirit is saying you have the knowledge here, and the knowledge here that you're going to need and learn comes through time, but there has to be a release of the energy of feeling like we're not, prepared, or we're not experienced enough. Okay, and so we have to trust ourselves as an independent agent to go and to experience what we need to. And this is only learned through our engagement. It's not something that will ever sort of fall and from the sky here without us actually experiencing it. But I feel like we cannot use the reasoning that we're using right now to stay in the state that we're in. Like it can't happen, or I'm not going to be good enough, or that this thing will never turn out, or wait until I have this or that. Because this excuse or this mindset or this reasoning is really Spirit saying it's our excuse to remain in the comfort or in the world that we're used to here. But that's not bringing us anything. Okay, for whatever reason, we're projecting a version of us that we think we wear better on the outside, but it doesn't matter what version of us we wear better or more comfortable. The thing that matters here is the essence of the true, nectar of life here, what's going to be fulfilling. And so I feel like this is what's most rewarding. And I feel like it is engaging, like I said, with transferring this energy to the collective, and being engaged in this way is very rewarding here for you. But we have to sort of shift how we see ourselves in this whole energy here. So let's take a look what Spirit wants to say with the tarot cards. Pile number 2, spirits. Pile number 2, can we take a deeper look at pile number 2's obstacle here, and what's holding them back? What is it that they can do here to overcome this challenge, or what do they need to focus on right here, right now? What's going to help? So I feel like this is really talking about the mindset, and the idea of who we think we are is the thing we need to break free from, and trust that we've outgrown that version of us that in our mind might appear good. Okay, so death, yeah, massive transformation. And we kept getting 13 all over the place, right? 13, and where else? There was another 13 somewhere here. So it is about transformation, releasing the old version of self, 2 wands, in order for there to be a crossroads. And like I said, there's a decision here. And I think you're contemplating, or pause or reflecting and not seeing it as a viable option. And the Emperor. So we need to get empowered and confident in choosing this path. I feel this is your reading. I don't feel there's much more here. Knight of Cups. Yeah. Listen to the heart space here with this Knight of Cups. And here we have 2 Pentacles in reverse, the 2s in reverse. So I think you're telling yourself you don't have either what it takes, or some maybe resource or material thing, or you're just putting off something, hesitating something, you're delaying something. And Spirit says, this isn't going to just suddenly creep up on you. You have to grab this confidence. You have to take the first step here and get empowered to choose this direction and allow the transformation to happen, but become an active participant in releasing and understanding the way you see yourself and what might be not healthy about how you engage with yourself or tell yourself, or the version of yourself that you're seeing in your mind's eye. Because as long as you hang on to that, it'll forever be a thing. You have to be the one that starts to change your own perception and detach and release from identities and stories in order for there to be a mindset shift and a mindset that allows you to be successful in this sort of new realm. Okay, and Spirit says the true emotions will come through here once the true essence has light to shine and to speak forth. But as long as the old mask or the old self is sort of wearing that coat, it kind of drowns out the authentic self. And so we can't just, I don't know, like water down our truest emotions here in order to upkeep some other world. And so Spirit says, like, allow your emotions really in the truest space of your essence, in the purest form of what fulfills you, to be your North Star, your guiding light here. Okay. And so don't second guess or go back and forth or doubt yourself, because that's all like noise of the mind. Okay. The noise of the mind talks us out of it. And so there's no need to do this. Okay. So Spirit's confirming this for you guys, beautiful angels. So if you feel stuck, just keep on this sort of path of knowing and becoming your own biggest advocate here. That the only thing holding you back is your own judgments, your own understanding of how you see yourself. No one sees you like that but you. And so it only exists because you say it exists. All right. So that's your reading, pile 2. I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye. All right. Pile number 3. You guys picked the striped skunk with the keyword clear. And it says, what kind of release would you protect? What kind of release would protect clarity in my space? With the crown, and the key, and the dragonfly. So before we get into this energy check, let's get into what this reading is about. This reading is going to provide you with information in regards to where there might be an obstacle that Spirit wants you to focus on, a place where you might be stuck. And like I mentioned at the beginning, sometimes we're stuck in situations because it's a reflection of what's going on within us. And so 9 times out of 10, there's something within us that we're needing to deal with and overcome or work with in order for there to be a transformation on the outside. Okay, because the outside world is always going to be reflecting what's going on inside of us. So I asked Spirit that exact question. What is it that you're needing to work on, your biggest obstacle or challenge right now, and how can you be guided through it? And so if you're working on your intuition, then I do suggest you sit through the card layout, okay? Or you could click straight away to the channeled message if you're in tune with your intuition and you want to get straight away to the reading. Now, this is the energy check here with this pile or this card. So let's see what comes through here. So a skunk could talk about, boundaries, because we could certainly keep things at a distance here with the skunk. I feel like there might be a need to learn about what healthy boundaries look like. Boundaries that don't cause conflict or suffering or pain, or a boundary that we use in order to protect ourselves that might not necessarily be getting the results we want. And so this doesn't mean I have to learn to say no in order for me to be healthy, okay, which is a misconception here. Sometimes we say no because we're hurt, and we use that as a coping mechanism. And so we say no and we keep things out. Okay, it goes both ways. Healthy boundary would understand when I say no is because it's coming from a healthy place. I'm not trying to push people out. I'm not trying to resist or fight. I'm not concerned with getting hurt. I could be vulnerable. Okay, or it's like I could say yes because I'm okay with being vulnerable. But healthy people don't really have a need to shut people out or put boundaries. And if we say, whoa, there's so many difficult people, and this person's a narcissist, and that person narcissist, and that, then it's like there's something going on within you that you're attracting these people that you're calling narcissists, okay? Because there is unhealthy sort of things brewing from within us the minute we have to put boundaries in place. And so we could be experiencing a situation that is teaching us this exact lesson. How do I know when I'm triggered and pushing people away because of my own ego or my own inability to be comfortable with the situation? And so I might start to feel rejected and then push people out, or for whatever reason need to understand what a healthy attachment looks like. Okay, which means what do I need to release in order for me to become very clear about how I see the world? So I feel there's a lack of clarity. Okay, I don't feel you're seeing very clearly right now. And this doesn't mean you have conviction with something like, yeah, I know I need to block this person. It's very clear to me because they're a narcissist. Okay, I always use that word as a sort of an example here. This person did that. Therefore, the only solution answer is I do this. That's not healing the wound. That's saying the next narcissist is going to trigger me and the next person is going to be a narcissist. In that situation, I'm always going to be bumping around. People are always going to be triggering me. I'm always going to have to shut people out and put boundaries and say, what's wrong with the world? I got to keep people out. Only some people are good or are able to come. And it's like, no, almost everyone should be available in our space. If we're truly open and healed, we don't get triggered by anyone or anything. We always have things to learn from people because most people are traumatized and triggered in their own right, but we have lots to learn from these people. And so I feel like there's some misconception we have that we need to see through with this dragonfly about ourselves, about boundaries, about how we're engaged right now. And we need to know when to get empowered and what does true empowerment look like. Okay, and what's going to sort of be the right solution here in order for things to move. Because I feel like we're dealing with a situation, and now I see two hearts. It could be in a relationship. Okay, we're in a relationship with everything, but this particularly could be like an intimate relationship where we need to find a right solution or an answer here in order for things to be cohesive. The only solution answer, there's one key here, and that is through self-work and self-reflection and seeing self clearly. Okay, not seeing the self that I've always used or the self that keeps me protected, but seeing through the illusion of which I've created in myself so that I'll know exactly what it is I do need to release and what it is that I'm actually needing to see as objective here. That's true empowerment. Okay, so we need to get empowered. We don't know how just yet, and we're fumbling. Okay, we might think empowerment looks one way, but it's not. Now, we might feel like we're empowered in another way, and it's also not. So let's see. So we have Moon and Mercury. So yeah, we're in the moonlight. What we're thinking, what we're seeing, okay, is really a fear that's dressed up like empowerment, or a fear that's driving the bus. Okay, it's our subconscious driving the bus. So 97% of our action, all of us, is driven from subconscious. And so if our subconscious is full of fears and traumas and fragmented energies, and we're not observing ourselves, then we're not realizing that we're actually in moonlight. Okay, and so here's the number 11, and 11 is all about a spiritual number. So maybe you're in a spiritual journey of sorts, and so you're seeing signs, symbols, synchronicities, dreams. There could be a lot of spiritual activity around you at this time, all in regards to you seeing something clearly and releasing something from the subconscious that is driven by fear. Okay, now Mercury is a ruling planet for Gemini, Virgo. The moon is a ruling planet for Cancer and Pisces, but Mercury is all about self-expression. Okay, it's the magician, so it's about manifesting, but it's also divine timing, communication. Okay, 33 is a master number, and it's about reproduction, creativity, and humor, Christ consciousness, joy, and harmony. So I feel like, again, we're trying to find harmony with another, I feel here, harmonious. Okay, Venus is all about love, but this could be how it's like, beauty, the planet of beauty here with the Venus. But Venus represents the divine feminine, which is all about unconditional love and abundance, because the Empress, she is ruled by this Venus card. And so what is the Empress? The Empress knows her boundaries. She knows her self-worth. She knows her value. But it's not from a triggered place of I'm sitting up here on my pedestal and someone needs to come up to my level, but I haven't plunged the depths of my subconscious to be healed. And so really I'm wanting someone to come up to my level of what? I have a misconception of who I am. And I have this grandiose version of myself in my mind, potentially, that doesn't exist. And it's created because I'm wounded. And so we're healing this version of self, but it comes through the lesson of love. And this is unconditional love. So we can find abundance. And abundance is, we use it too often in spiritual readings, but it's really the infinite universe that's providing everything all at once. There is no limitation. And so when we know this, we don't have scarcity mindset. We're able to experience unconditional love without feeling like we're going to miss out in some way here. Okay, so we're healing something in order for us to be this. The Chiron planets is all about the wounded warrior, which is able to be healing others through a way of healing. Okay, we heal our wounds, and then we become a healing light to the collective. Allow. Yeah, so there's lots of fear around allowing things to be, because when we have fears, it's like, if I allow, then I'm out of control. Or what happens when I just let things be? This takes surrender to allow things to be. Expansion. So growth is happening here. And we have to allow in order for there to be growth and expansion in the situation we're dealing with. Potentially, like I said, a partnership. So freedom. Associations. Your circle of friends. What is this? The house. This is the 11th house. 11th house is about network of friends, groups, social awareness. Okay, it could be your hopes or wishes for the future. And so it might be very tied to a projection of what we want our future to look like. Okay, this is also the house of humanitarianism. Some of you guys might be humanitarianisms. Circle of friends, network of people. And so we have the sun, masculine, which we were really feeling here, like the doer sort of energy. Masculine energy could be feeling out of control when it has to allow, because it's used to being in power. Okay, but what does empower mean? Sometimes it means letting situations unfold in the feminine energy. That's real control and power. Okay, but not if we're not used to it. But the sun's really giving me ego. So sun represents ego. Okay, this is Leo energy as well. So look at this. We're chopping. It even looks like this person's chopping their own hand. So it's like, we're the biggest culprit, or we got to chop off a part of ourselves. And this is symbolic, I feel here, of the doer, because hands are like doing, taking this formal action in some way. It's like, no, there's nothing to do except for allow. We have to get in there. We have to objectively cut out that action of the ego that we have to do or be some way. Okay. Simplify. Okay, that's beautiful. I love simplify. So addict. So this is an unhealthy way of engagement that is, after a certain amount of times that we get stuck in doing the same thing, we create these unhealthy patterns. So we need to stop the unhealthy pattern. And I think the pattern here is the doing, or the egoic thing that we always do. So addict. Light attributes helps you recognize and confront addictive behaviors. Yes. Shadow attributes compromises integrity and honesty, allows an addictive pattern to have authority over your inner spirit. So that's what we're learning about. So your dreams are closer than you think. Look at that. 44, another master number. My goodness, we have 33, 11, 44. So what's 44? 44 is integrity as a foundation, treating the earth as home and a temple, and manifesting and leadership. Leadership, again, this masculine energy. Okay, so Ace of Cups is all about self-love. Your dreams are closer than you think. Yes. So we might have a scarcity mindset in which we're trying to hang on to something that's actually even closer than we think. And the more we hang on, the further away it seems to get. Body. So this is the physical again. I'm getting ego here with body. We're not the body. Okay, this is like the doer thing, the vessel that houses the spiritual energy. 56 or the number 11 again. So now we have 11, which could confirm if we are engaged in a connection here. We could be engaged with a twin flame connection, but 11 is highly spiritual, a highly spiritual journey. Pivot. Sometimes when things aren't falling into place after trying and trying and trying, it's time to ask yourself if pivoting in some way would be a good idea so that your life can flow more easily and effortlessly. How could you pivot even just a little bit? I feel like we're doing the insanity, which is expecting different results, doing the same thing, and we're being asked to surrender and allow, but we don't know how because there's fear around doing this. Okay, waking the lion. Look at this heavy Leo energy. 19, and 19 is the sun energy. Waking the lion. So what is this? The courage to face the fear, the thing that would require us maybe to surrender. That's the biggest fear we have. That's going to take the most courage, not necessarily facing it and doing proactive actions, but courage to let things fall as they may. And here's Star. Star is Aquarius, but that talks about our vision for the future. Like there might be a future vision or an idea of something we want, and we're trying to control outcome in some way here. Okay, parrot wax cap with isolation. Number 30 or the number 3. So remember we talked about the boundary. So it's either we're trying to do something or we create this isolation. And so we need to find a healthy medium balance here between what is not isolation, but what's also not doing. What does that look like? There, the Judge. Yes, so we have the dark and the light, and Judge could be Libra energy, but this is potentially passing some form of understanding that we might think we have here on a situation that might be far from the truth. Okay, so it's like passing judgment. We have runestones, ancient wisdom, fate, and divinity. Wow, so yes, all these 11s, like I said, there's something fated here, like a lesson here of sorts. You're definitely being guided here to take some form of journey. 21 or the number 3 again. 3 is about growth, relationships, the initial success. And here you see the dove, which talks about peace, and this dove has a crown. So peace is what creates the empowerment. Like I said, it's the opposite of what we're used to. Maybe we're used to doing in order to get what we want, and it's like peace will get you what you want. Peace will get you the empowerment. How do we find peace? Okay, be peace. How do we become peace? We can't take the action of peace. We embody peace. Okay, so here we have iron, 22. 22 is also a master number. Okay, so I feel like you guys are really filled with like heavy magical energy here, like spiritual energy. I feel like this is really talking about divinely guided relationships with the 22. Okay, because the 2 talks about divinely guided relationships, but it's the duality, the choices, finding the balance with the 2s. Okay, and iron is a very solid material here. It was used to build buildings and bridges, and it creates this foundation that's unbudgeable. Okay, so I'm getting Emperor energy from this energy here, so stability. And we have solitude. So I'm kind of tapped back into this isolation, but there's a difference between isolation and solitude. Do we know the difference? And maybe we're not comfortable with ourselves enough to find solitude and peace where we feel like it's an isolation. Meanwhile, we have to shift sort of how we're engaged, because this is giving me hermit energy, which is us reflecting and being with ourselves and being at peace and finding comfort. Not feeling anxious, or like only if we have like an anxious attachment style would we feel like we're being isolated or abandoned in some way. So let me tap into this energy here, you guys. Okay, this messaging is very sort of clear here, although it's harder to do because it's something we have to experience through so that we understand what it's talking about. If we just say surrender, because we want to hear surrender to the universe, and then we're like, okay, I'll try not to do anything. And that's really not, we try to distract our mind or try not to think about it or try to give it to the universe. Like, yes, that's what we're being called to do, but we have to go through what it means to surrender, to allow things to be. And it's very uncomfortable when we're a doer or when we're in control in the solar plexus energy of our world. We think we're in control, okay, but it's just an illusion and we're a doer. And so I feel like there's an outcome that you have in mind, some vision of something, and you're used to doing, you're used to achieving and being a part of making it happen. Okay, and so this divine journey is teaching you about how to be expansive in your growth. I feel it's very spiritual, the journey, but also expanding your spirituality. And how do we expand our spirituality? By working with the divine in a way that allows the divine to show us through belief and through experience to trust it. And so we don't trust the divine just yet, and I don't blame you. It's because the only experience we've ever experienced was through our own sort of filter of doing. And so everything that has been produced has been as a result of me getting actively involved. but that's not true. The divine's been acting through you. It was just the illusion of you doing that you bought into. And so now you carry this belief so strong, and it's like there is the way you engage with people. I feel for some of you guys, it is a relationship. Okay, a soul connection here. Some of you guys, it could even be at the twin flame, like I said, with the 1111. It could be just a group of people or your soul tribe, how you engage with people in general. Something's awakened you. There's some dream, there's some spiritual journey, there's some symbol, sign synchronicities. You're seeing repeat numbers, potentially angel numbers, whatever is going on here, because it's trying to heal some wound within you. And I feel like it is some form of a superficial wound here. Okay. And I mean, this isn't casting judgment saying you're a superficial person. It's like superficial because there's a deeper core spiritual side of yourself that is there, and it's not dependent on whether you can do something or not, whether you're successful or not, whether other people validate you or not. That's all transient energy that comes and goes, and it's like the circle of life. It's like this body, okay? The body, once it dies, it disintegrates, but our essence and our soul is that in which energetically keeps on going, okay? And so our essence is tied to that divine light of ours that can't waver based on what's going on out there. The world that we see out there has no impact on who we are. And so if we start to see ourselves from the perspective that we need to be approved, or we need to do this, that, and the other in order to be successful, we're the ones carrying this weight. Okay. And so we start to live like we're a doer here and creating this sort of outcome, but all we're really setting ourselves up to is disappointment, because it's an illusion that we have control, and two, that the universe is making it sure that if you're the more you start to hang on and try to gain control of your situation, the more it's going to push outwards and be resistant of you. This is how this journey is going for you, specifically so that you can be shown this mirror, so you can pivot and try a different way, because this new way that you haven't tried before is allowing things to be, trusting the divine, not hanging on to outcome, okay, and learning about healthy boundaries. And so we might have only found one way to get empowered, and it's move out of my way and let me do it. Okay, I could really relate with this energy. Move out of my way and let me do it. Door. Doesn't work? Okay, great. And you close that door and you're gone to the next thing, But this is saying you have to be faced with this situation in a way that's not flowing. It's resisting you, or it's moving out, like you can't aim and get to the outcome you want until you succumb to this way that the universe wants you to see. And so your goal is there. There's confirmation. You're going to get what you want here. The only way to get what you want, the universe wants to give it to you, is in how you see and engage and respond with your own energy, because there's a need for you to fill your own cup internally. And so this means we've been outwardly seeking with the ego, chasing. Like I say, the ego is always attaining onto the next thing. It gets what it wants, and then it's on to the next, and gets what it wants, and it's on to the next. It doesn't get it, and then it blames you, and it blames everything else, because the ego doesn't take any accountability. It's always finding fault, but then we're always never happy, and we're always on that wheel, because the ego is never content and at peace. And this is what the Buddha meant by desire is the biggest cause of suffering. Because as long as we desire, we suffer. And this doesn't mean we're dead to the world. I don't want anything. It's all a big depressing world. No, it just means when we have a desire out there, we're constantly chasing it because it's dictating and building us up in some way. And that means we haven't tapped into our true divine essence that's full and complete without anything out there justifying our value. So we're not seeing it from the clear perspective. And so our fears are acting up here in your situation. And I think these fears are dictating how you act. And so we might get many ways. We might get triggered. We might put boundaries. We might block people out. And it's like, is it really us acting, or is it the fear acting out? Okay, because I feel like we're triggered and then we block people out, or we're saying yes and no based on our triggering and our traumas and our fears. And it's not a real answer of, let me be uncomfortable here. Let me see what the universe is going to do here. And so if we become vulnerable and let the universe, and all of a sudden something doesn't go right, we could fall back into the old way and say, oh my goodness, like it didn't work out. See, I was ready to surrender. And now, no. True surrender means however the universe flows me out of this journey specifically. Okay, this doesn't mean forever be in this sort of state, because sometimes the universe wants you to take action. Okay, and the universe does want you to take action. The action it wants you to take is to pivot and let the universe do the action here in order for you to grow and heal this part of self, because there's a part that's needing healing only through this experience, and it won't go away until you heal this and experience this so you can achieve what you want here. Okay, but I feel you have a misconception and some form of judgment that you carry about how things need to be and how they're right and how they're wrong. It's like, no, there is no right and wrong here. Okay, just allow things to flow here without you casting any sort of right or wrong, because this is stemmed from an unhealthy way that you engage. And you're upkeeping this unhealthy way that you engage because you're not seeing through your own moonlight and your own fears. So you keep pushing people out, or you keep engaging with them in the same way. And you're not seeing through your own BS with this dragonfly. There's a version of yourself you're needing to look at. And it's the version of you that tries to find empowerment by doing something that you do. That's great, but not in this application, and not in this to gain the thing that you want here with the star, because you want to see some outcome here. Okay, there's no doubt that you're beautiful, empowered, and full of courage. But how much courage can we really have when we can't even have the courage to trust the divine? Because we're sort of putting it on ourselves. Okay, so this is a spiritual journey about learning the dance of the divine, learning how to surrender, learning how to allow things to be, not getting in our own way. Okay, cutting off any part of ourself here that starts to create havoc, because we identify as just my old shadow kicking up. And so if I am left alone, I don't feel in isolation and abandoned. It's like, okay, I'll take this time to reflect. You know, maybe we're not used to being alone, or maybe we're used to being the center of attention, or maybe we're used to people giving us affection in some way. And it's like, now I feel alone. And here it's like, okay, well, the hermit takes this time and utilizes this to find peace. So peace feels a lot different than feeling isolated, feeling abandoned, feeling rejected. Do we know the difference? And why not? And so let's sit with the discomfort of the isolation until it turns into solitude, because it will turn, you know. But if we're so uncomfortable, because some people, like when they sit there to meditate, it's like they can't even silence their mind for a second. They get all fidgety and they're just like, it's just not happening. But they haven't given it the chance. We're all like that at first. You have to sit through the discomfort. This is how we're going to find peace. Okay, we know you have discomfort. It's okay. It's okay. Trust, release, surrender, fall into it. Don't resist it. The more you resist what's happening to you, the more suffering. And you're not your body, you're not your thoughts, you're not the abandonment you're feeling or the isolation you're feeling. No, none of that is true. This experience is pushing you through a temporary thing in order to get to the other side, because you're going to get your wish here. Your dreams are closer than you think, but you're the one pushing it away by your action or your belief. Okay, Knight of Cups. So Spirit, clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile number 3. What are they needing to know here about this obstacle or this challenge that they're needing to focus on here? Anything further? Empress in reverse. I'm going to just take the one that's revealed itself. So we were feeling this Empress from this Venus energy, right? And what's this in reverse? Learning healthy boundaries, knowing our self-worth, knowing that the universe is abundant, that we don't got to chase it. Empress is all about knowing our self-value, learning about unconditional love, and learning about healthy boundaries. So there we have the 10 of Cups that's revealed itself, and it is in reverse. So what's this? An untapped potential here. So like I said, there's a vision of something you want, okay? And 10 Cups, this could be a community, a family, or a relationship situation of coming together. And it's a full potential here that's out in the distance here. And so we see this as a vision of a potential, and it makes us anxious, and we want it to come, and we want it to work. And so we start to grab onto it. We start to do things, and it's like, don't. You're doing the opposite of what Spirit wants you to do. So this is acting from a heart space only, and the heart only knows to what? Give and receive from an open place with no conditions, no expectations. It doesn't suppress, it doesn't run, it doesn't do boundaries, it doesn't say only this and only that and cause a bunch of limitations. If it does, then it's a reverse Empress. There's no limitation. It's unconditional. Okay, the heart is unconditional. So Chariot. So something's stuck and it's in balance. So we're in balance, so something's stuck on the outside. Okay, we're not successful. We're not getting the results we want because we need to find balance in our emotions. We need to find balance about how we give love and receive love, because I feel there's a bunch of restrictions and a bunch of rules that we're following here. We're not comfortable in just being open, giving love and receiving it without a bunch of, like I say, rules or like misconceptions or stories or what's right and what's wrong. Okay, the world is concluding a cycle. So this is talking to me about this spiritual lesson. We're having to learn and close out an old version of ourselves that doesn't know how to love healthily, or doesn't know how to engage healthily, or doesn't know its full abundance because it's really relying on external validation. And it has trauma. 8 of Wands. That's about having a breakthrough, movement. Okay, this is stuck. This is movement. Fast movement. And here we have the 7 of Cups. And under that, we have the 3 of Pentacles. So your situation hasn't manifested. And I feel like it has other moving pieces, other people here with this group of people, or a situation of a relationship, of a coming together. And it takes 2 sides. Spirit is saying, do not focus on the other side, the network of people, the other person, the thing that has to do what it also needs to do. Do not focus there. Okay, it doesn't mean like pretend you don't see them. It just means do not think that that person or that situation needs to change or move. All about you. And so as you move, as you grow, as you release and surrender, this situation is going to come into harmony and you're going to be able to work together here. But you're not, because the universe is keeping you removed until you overcome this thing and successfully graduate from that lesson. The lesson of Earth School. Earth School is teaching you about unconditional love. Earth School is teaching you about your self-value. Earth School is teaching you about boundaries and about that the universe wants to provide abundance to you. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to hang on to it. You don't have to cling to it. You don't have to seek it. You don't have to feel isolated about it. You don't have to attach to an external relationship to find it. All you got to do is listen to your heart and be open without fear and surrender. Open. Okay. An open heart is forever allowing flow. It doesn't have any restrictions, limitations. Okay. And so if we have any of that, then that's going to get in the way of your journey. And so this message is just for someone who knows that they're stuck in this journey, someone who knows that they're not successful, someone who's experiencing imbalance and who's most likely experiencing loss or feeling rejected or feeling not appreciated, feeling isolated, feeling like they have to put these boundaries, and they might bounce from feeling empowered and being in control in some way, but it's all a false state of control. That I'm in control or that I'm empowered. It's like, no, you're not seeing it clearly. And so this is why it's not harmonious. Okay, so we have to move with the universe. And the universe is saying this will move very fast. The minute we surrender, the minute we start to work with the universe, the minute we start to see that all is abundant, the minute we start to listen to the heart. Okay, it's not going to all of a sudden trick you. It might seem as though it's going some other way, and it's okay. And the more we trust, the more we feel confident, the more we face our fear, the more things will be revealed to us. Okay, but I feel like we're in a state of confusion here and we don't see which way's up. And I feel like we have to learn to trust that we're going to navigate through this confusion with spirit so that things will be revealed to us as they need to. Okay, that we're not the ones sort of dictating this thing here. Temperance in reversal. We still have healing to do and we're still imbalanced here. Okay, so this is about getting imbalanced so that we can work with the universe to show up for what? This connection, this 3 pentacles work together to manifest something here. But if we're not in the proper ingredient, we can't work with the other side. So we have to show up healthy, healed, one side of the cake in order to contribute. And if we're not, and we're wanting and we're seeing out there as needing to do this, that, and the other, and we're coming like this, then the universe says, you're not ready for this manifestation or this beautiful gift or this wish. So you might have a vision of an outcome thinking, I'm prepared, I'm ready. It's like, are you? Or are you just coming with a bag full of trauma and moonlight energy, thinking that there's limitation and that you're going to make something happen here, but it's all a misconception? Drop the misconceptions. Lean into the heart. Close out this chapter. Things will start moving. You will come into balance and healing. and things will become clear where they're stuck and not manifested, where there's uncertainty in your future and you don't like sitting in uncertainty because you feel isolated or you feel like you're out of control. So we grab, I'm out of control, so I grab onto, or I try to chase and attain. It's like, no, feel okay with not knowing. Feel okay with not knowing, because that's what this journey is about. Because there's a reason Spirit wants you to go through this, so you trust the divine and you use your navigation of intuition and trust in the divine, so that it strengthens like a muscle here. It's very much needed for wherever it's setting you up. Okay, this muscle needs to get worked, and this is the only way it's going to work. No other way. You don't know better than the universe. So stop trying. You're just tiring yourself out, and you're pushing out your wish further and further out. And this is addictive behavior that needs to get addressed. It needs to stop. It's not a healthy boundary. It's not strong to say I'm blocking this person out or doing this or that because I didn't get my outcome. That's not strength. That's an ego talking. That's a pain talking. So, beautiful angels, this is your reading. I hope this helped you, and I'll see you at the next one. All right, bye-bye.